Commander Vextal stared at the blue planet, spinning slowly below his massive warship. In 47 worlds, he had never seen anything quite like Earth. The planet gleamed with swirling white clouds and vast oceans that caught the light of its yellow star. Cities sparkled like tiny jewels across the dark continents. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," reported his communications officer. "They are speaking in multiple languages, but our translators are working." Vextal nodded. This was always the moment he enjoyed most. The fear in their voices when they realized a superior force had arrived. The desperate pleas for mercy. The quick surrender that always followed. But something was different this time. "Welcome to Earth," came a calm voice from the speakers. "This is President Jack Murphy speaking on behalf of humanity. We have been expecting visitors from the stars for a long time. We would like to invite you to meet with us and learn about each other." Vextal's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. Where was the panic? Where were the demands to know their intentions? Where was the fear? His second-in-command, Warcast Threnduck, moved closer to the communication panel. "They invite us? Do they not understand we could destroy their world with a single command?" "Perhaps they are simply ignorant," Vextal said. "Inform them that we are the Zephyrian Empire. Tell them we have come to claim this world for our confederation." The response came within minutes. "We understand you represent a powerful civilization. We would be honored to host representatives from your empire. Our Secretary of Defense, Lisa Carter, has prepared quarters for your delegation. We have also arranged cultural tours and dinner celebrations in your honor." Threnduck's claws scraped against the metal console. "Celebrations? Tours? What kind of species welcomes their conquerors with parties?" "Weak ones," Vextal replied, but doubt crept into his voice. In his long career, he had learned to trust his instincts. Something felt wrong about the situation. 3 days later, a small shuttle descended toward the largest city on the North American continent. Vextal had chosen to lead the diplomatic mission himself, accompanied by 6 of his finest warriors. As they approached the landing platform, he saw hundreds of humans waiting to greet them. The humans were smaller than Zephyrians, with only 2 arms and 2 eyes each. They looked fragile, almost delicate, but they showed no signs of fear. Instead, they waved colored claws in the air and played loud, rhythmic music. A tall human male with graying hair stepped forward as Vextal emerged from the shuttle. "Commander Vextal, I am President Murphy. Welcome to Earth. We are truly excited to meet beings from another world." Vextal studied the human leader's face, searching for deception or hidden fear. He found neither. The human's eyes were bright with what appeared to be genuine curiosity and interest. "You should be afraid," Vextal said bluntly. "We have weapons that could turn your cities to ash. We command fleets that have conquered dozens of worlds." President Murphy nodded thoughtfully. "I imagine you have seen many amazing things in your travels. We would love to hear about other worlds and civilizations. But first, please, let us show you what Earth has to offer." Secretary Carter has arranged a tour of our capital city. A human female approached them. She wore a formal uniform decorated with colorful ribbons and metal badges. "I am Lisa Carter," she said with a warm smile. "We have prepared rooms for you in our finest hotel. Tonight we will hold a dinner in your honor where you can taste foods from around our world." Vextal felt increasingly uncomfortable. This was not how conquests were supposed to begin. Where were the desperate leaders begging for their people's lives? Where were the military forces trying to resist his landing? As they traveled through the human city, Vextal observed everything carefully. The buildings were tall but seemed fragile compared to Zephyrian architecture. The humans moved about their daily lives without apparent concern for the alien visitors among them. Children pointed and waved excitedly when they saw the Zephyrians. "Your people do not seem worried about our presence," Vextal commented to Secretary Carter as their vehicle moved through busy streets. Should they be worried? Carter asked. You have come in peace to learn about us, haven't you? We believe that different species can find ways to cooperate and help each other. That evening, the humans held an elaborate feast in a grand building. They called the Kennedy Center. Hundreds of humans attended, wearing their finest clothes. They presented the Zephyrians with gifts of art, music, and food from every continent on Earth. Admiral Kate Stevens, a human female with short silver hair and sharp eyes, sat beside Vextal during the meal. She asked detailed questions about Zephyrian technology, culture, and military organization. Her questions seemed innocent enough, born of scientific curiosity. How many worlds does your empire control? She asked while sampling a dish called chocolate cake. 47 worlds have joined our confederation, Vextal replied proudly. Some joined willingly, others needed persuasion. Fascinating. How do you manage such a large territory? Your communication systems must be incredibly advanced to coordinate across such distances. Vextal found himself explaining Zephyrian faster than light. Communication networks, fleet organization, and supply line management. Admiral Stevens listened intently, occasionally asking for clarification on technical details. Captain Ryan Brooks, a younger human male, engaged Warcast Threnduck in conversation about military tactics and warrior traditions. Threnduck, flattered by the attention, shared stories of famous Zephyrian battles and conquest strategies. As the evening progressed, Vextal noticed how skillfully the humans guided conversations. They asked questions that seemed casual but covered every aspect of Zephyrian society, technology, and military capabilities. Yet they did it with such apparent friendliness that it felt like natural curiosity rather than interrogation. Dr. Alex Chun, a human scientist, showed particular interest in Zephyrian biology and physiology. Your species has adapted to so many different worlds, he said admiringly. You must have incredible genetic flexibility. Indeed, Vextal replied. We can survive in environments that would kill most species. Amazing. What environmental factors affect you most? Temperature? Atmospheric composition? Radiation levels? The questions continued late into the night. By the time the Zephyrians returned to their quarters, they had shared more information about their empire than Vextal had intended. But the humans had been such gracious hosts, so genuinely interested in learning, that it had felt natural to respond to their curiosity. Standing in his assigned room, Vextal stared out the window at the human city sprawling below. Lights twinkled in millions of windows, and vehicles moved along illuminated roads like glowing insects. The scene was beautiful, almost peaceful, but something nagged at him. In 47 worlds, no species had ever welcomed the Zephyrian Empire with such warmth and openness. Fear, yes, anger, certainly. Desperate attempts at negotiation, always. But never this calm acceptance, this genuine hospitality. Either humans were the most naive species in the galaxy, or they were playing a game he did not yet understand. 6 months had passed since the Zephyrians first arrived on Earth. Commander Vextal stood in his command center aboard the flagship Dominator, watching dozens of human transport ships moving between Earth and his fleet. The humans called it cultural exchange, but Vextal was growing impatient. Sir, Supreme Commander Zarkith's vessel is approaching, announced his communications officer. Vextal straightened his armor. Zarkith was the highest military leader of the Zephyrian Empire, commanding over 300 warships. His arrival meant the time for games was over. The massive command ship Eclipse Shadow dwarfed even Vextal's flagship. When Supreme Commander Zarkith materialized on the bridge, his presence filled the room with authority. His scarred face and battle-worn armor told the story of countless victories. Commander Vextal, Zarkith's voice rumbled like distant thunder. I have come to finish what should have been completed months ago. Where is the human surrender? Sir, the situation is more complex than we initially believed, Vextal began carefully. The humans have been cooperative. They have shared technology, provided tours of their facilities, and established joint research programs. Zarketh's eyes narrowed. 6 months, Commander. 6 months to conquer one primitive world. I have destroyed entire star systems in less time. Before Vextile could respond, his communication system activated. President Murphy's familiar voice filled the bridge. Supreme Commander Zarketh, welcome to our solar system. We have prepared a grand ceremony in your honor. The people of Earth are excited to meet the leader of such a magnificent empire. Zarketh stared at the communication panel in disbelief. They dare to welcome me. Do they not understand that I command the power to end their species? Within hours, Zarketh found himself in another human celebration, this one even larger than the previous ceremonies. The humans had gathered leaders from every nation on their planet. They presented him with gifts of rare metals, artistic treasures, and detailed maps of their world's resources. Colonel Jake Miller, a human military officer, approached Zarketh with obvious respect. Supreme Commander, we have established joint research facilities as you requested. Our scientists are eager to learn from your advanced technology. Show me these facilities, Zarketh demanded. Miller led him to a complex of buildings outside the human capital. Inside, Zephyrian and human scientists worked side by side on various projects. Dr. Sophie Taylor, a human engineer, explained their work with enthusiasm. We are studying your energy systems, she said, pointing to a dismantled Zephyrian power cell. Your technology is centuries ahead of ours. We hope to learn enough to improve our own primitive systems. Zarketh watched human scientists carefully examining every component of Zephyrian equipment. The humans asked endless questions about power output, energy conversion rates, and system efficiency. Their curiosity seemed genuine, almost childlike in its intensity. Your people learn quickly, Zarketh observed. We try our best, replied Dr. Taylor with a modest smile. Would you like to see our manufacturing facilities? We have been working to create compatible components for joint projects. The tour continued for hours. Zarketh saw human factories producing modified versions of Zephyrian technology. The humans claimed they were making improvements to better serve their alien guests, but something felt wrong about the entire situation. Meanwhile, Ambassador Helen Price led Zarketh through endless meetings with human committees and organizations. Each group had questions about Zephyrian law, governance structure, and administrative procedures. We want to ensure smooth integration when we join your empire, Ambassador Price explained as they sat through another lengthy discussion about trade regulations. Our legal experts need to understand how your confederation operates. The meetings stretched for days. Human lawyers and administrators asked about everything from tax collection to military recruitment. They wanted to know about communication protocols, supply chain management, and territorial governance. Each question led to more questions, creating an endless cycle of bureaucratic discussion. Captain Lisa Jordan, a human pilot, offered to give Zarketh tours of Earth's military installations. We want to show our good faith, she said. Our weapons are primitive compared to yours, but perhaps you would like to see how we organize our forces. Zarketh accepted, curious about human military capabilities. Jordan showed him air bases, naval facilities, and army training grounds. The humans demonstrated their weapon systems, which were indeed primitive by Zephyrian standards, but something bothered Zarketh about these demonstrations. The humans asked detailed questions about Zephyrian military tactics, ship formations, and battle strategies. They wanted to know about communication frequencies, targeting systems, and defensive capabilities. Your tactics are fascinating, Jordan said as they watched Zephyrian fighters practice maneuvers. How do you coordinate such complex formations across multiple ships? Commander Rick Nelson, another human officer, took notes during every military demonstration. He asked about weapon ranges, shield frequencies, and armor composition. His questions seemed innocent, coming from a primitive species trying to understand superior technology. "We are honored that you share your knowledge with us," Nelson said. "Perhaps someday our forces can serve alongside yours in battle." Agent Tom Parker, who claimed to be a human diplomat, arranged cultural exchanges between Zephyrian and human personnel. He organized parties, sporting events, and social gatherings where the two species could interact informally. During these events, Parker asked casual questions about Zephyrian homeworlds, family structures, and personal interests. He seemed genuinely friendly, interested in building bridges between their peoples. Dr. Carlos Martinez and Dr. Jenny Adams, human medical researchers, requested samples of Zephyrian biology for comparative studies. They wanted to understand how Zephyrian physiology differed from human biology. "This research will help us provide better medical care for your people while they visit Earth," Dr. Martinez explained as he collected tissue samples. "We want to ensure your comfort and health during your stay." The medical examinations were thorough. The human doctors tested Zephyrian reactions to various substances, measured their physical capabilities, and studied their nervous systems. They claimed it was all for peaceful purposes, to better understand their alien guests. As weeks passed, Zarkith noticed that his forces were becoming scattered across multiple human facilities. Small groups of Zephyrian personnel were stationed at research centers, military bases, and cultural exchange sites around the planet. "The humans are very thorough in their hospitality," Warcast Threndak observed during a private meeting. "They want to learn everything about us." "Perhaps too much," Zarkith replied, but he could not identify exactly what troubled him. The humans continued their endless courtesy. They held more ceremonies, arranged more tours, and organized more meetings. Every human leader expressed gratitude for Zephyrian patience and wisdom. President Murphy appeared on their screens almost daily with updates about preparations for full integration into the Zephyrian Empire. He spoke of committees forming to study Zephyrian law, engineers working to adapt their infrastructure, and educators preparing to teach Zephyrian culture to human children. "We want to be worthy members of your great confederation," Murphy said. During one broadcast, "We are working as quickly as possible to meet your standards." But months passed, and the integration process never seemed to progress beyond the planning stage. There were always more committees to form, more studies to complete, more preparations to make. Zarkith began to realize that the humans were trapping his forces in an endless web of bureaucracy and false friendship. Every day brought new delays, new complications, new reasons why the formal surrender could not yet take place. Standing in his command center, Zarkith watched human ships moving freely around his fleet. The humans claimed they were delivering supplies and cultural gifts, but Zarkith suspected they were gathering intelligence on every aspect of Zephyrian military capability. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans have requested permission to study our shield generators. They claim they want to integrate human power systems with our technology." Zarkith's patience finally reached its limit. The humans had been studying, learning, and preparing for 6 months, while his mighty fleet sat idle, accomplishing nothing. "Send a message to all human leaders," he commanded. "The time for ceremonies has ended. They have 30 Earth days to formally surrender and submit to Zephyrian authority. If they refuse, we will take their world by force." The message was transmitted across all human communication networks. For the first time since arriving at Earth, Zarkith felt in control of the situation. He had no idea that the humans had been waiting for exactly this moment. 30 days had passed since Supreme Commander Zarkith delivered his ultimatum. Throughout the Zephyrian fleet, tension filled every corridor and command center. Today, the humans would finally surrender, or the conquest would begin in earnest. Zarkith stood on his bridge, surrounded by his top commanders. Warcast Threndak checked weapon systems for the 5th time that morning. Commander Vextail monitored communication channels, waiting for the inevitable message of submission. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," reported the communications officer. "It appears to be from their leader." "Put it on the main screen," Zarkith ordered. President Jack Murphy appeared on the display, sitting calmly behind his desk in what the humans called the Oval Office. He looked directly into the camera with steady eyes that showed no fear. "Supreme Commander Zarkith," Murphy began, his voice carrying the same polite tone he had used for months. "We have carefully considered your generous offer to join your empire." Zarkith leaned forward, expecting the words of surrender he had heard from 47 other worlds. "After much discussion with our people and our allies around the world," Murphy continued, "we must respectfully decline your offer. We believe it would be better for both our species if you reconsidered your aggressive stance toward Earth." Silence filled the Zephyrian command center. Several officers looked at each other in confusion. Threndek's claws extended unconsciously. "Did he just ... Vextal began. "He refused," Zarkith said, his voice barely containing his rage. "After 6 months of pretending to cooperate, they dare to refuse the Zephyrian Empire?" Murphy's image continued speaking. "We understand this may disappoint you. However, we hope you will choose to leave our solar system peacefully. Earth is no longer available for conquest." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "No longer available?" Threndek snarled. "We will see about that. Order all ships to battle positions. Prepare to demonstrate the price of defiance." But before the first Zephyrian ship could move, every alarm on the bridge began screaming at once. "Sir," the tactical officer shouted over the noise, "we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. Unknown contacts are appearing on all sensors." On the main display, space around Earth transformed. What had appeared to be empty void suddenly filled with human vessels. Massive space stations uncloaked, revealing weapon arrays pointed directly at the Zephyrian fleet. Asteroid mining facilities opened like flowers, exposing hidden missile launchers. Where did they come from? Vextal demanded. Admiral Kate Stevens appeared on their communication screen, but she looked nothing like the curious scientist who had asked polite questions 6 months earlier. Her uniform was different, military and functional. Her eyes were cold as winter ice. "Supreme Commander Zarkith," she said, "I am Admiral Stevens of the Earth Defense Force. You are surrounded by 47 battle groups, each equipped with weapons based on your own technology. I suggest you reconsider your position." Zarkith stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Human ships appeared everywhere, emerging from behind moons, asteroids, and orbital platforms. The fleet that had seemed so mighty now looked small and outnumbered. "Impossible," he whispered. "They had no military capability. We observed their primitive weapons." "You observed what we wanted you to observe," Stevens replied. "Colonel Jake Miller, would you care to explain our situation to our guests?" Another human appeared on screen, wearing military armor that looked suspiciously familiar. Miller smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. "Supreme Commander, thank you for the detailed information about your shield frequencies, weapon ranges, and tactical formations. Your officers were very helpful during our cultural exchanges." Miller gestured towards something off-screen. "Dr. Sophie Taylor and her team have spent the last 6 months reverse engineering every piece of technology you so generously shared with us. We have made some improvements." The first human attack came without warning. A pulse of energy struck the Zephyrian flagship shields, but instead of the expected deflection, the shields flickered and failed completely. "Shield failure," reported a panicked officer. "The frequency matched our defensive harmonics perfectly." More human weapons fired across the battlefield. Zephyrian ships found their shields useless against weapons that had been specifically designed to counter their defenses. Engines failed as electromagnetic pulses targeted the exact components the humans had studied during their research programs. Captain Ryan Brooks commanded a human vessel that moved with impossible speed and agility. The ship's design combined Zephyrian technology with human innovations, creating something neither species had achieved alone. "This is Captain Brooks of the EDF Liberty," came his voice over the communication channel. "Zephyrian vessels, you are outgunned and outnumbered. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war." Threnduk roared in fury. "We are the Zephyrian Empire. We do not surrender to primitive species." He ordered his personal squadron to attack the human command ship. But as they approached, they encountered something no Zephyrian had ever seen before. The human ships fought with a coordination and tactical brilliance that surpassed even their own military doctrine. Captain Lisa Jordan led a fighter group that moved like a single organism, each pilot anticipating the other's actions perfectly. They struck at Zephyrian weak points with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying, as if they knew exactly where to hit each ship for maximum effect. "How do they know our vulnerabilities so well?" demanded one of Threnduk's pilots. The answer came from Commander Rick Nelson, whose voice filled the Zephyrian communication networks. "Because we asked you. Remember all those questions about your military tactics, your ship designs, your battle formations? We were taking notes." Dr. Alex Chun appeared on another channel, speaking with the same friendly enthusiasm he had shown during medical examinations. "We also learned quite a bit about your biology during our research. Would you like to see what we discovered?" A new type of weapon fired from human ships, producing a strange electromagnetic field. Every Zephyrian who encountered it immediately collapsed, their nervous systems overwhelmed by precisely calibrated interference. "Your species has a very interesting weakness to specific electromagnetic frequencies," Dr. Chun explained cheerfully. "Don't worry, the effect is only temporary. You'll wake up in our detention facilities." Supreme Commander Zarkith watched, his mighty fleet being systematically disabled by an enemy that seemed to know everything about Zephyrian technology, tactics, and biology. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being captured by humans who had been pretending to serve them tea and showing them art galleries. "Sir," his communications officer reported with a shaking voice, "we are receiving surrender demands from 17 different human commanders. They want us to power down weapons and prepare to be boarded." Agent Tom Parker, the friendly diplomat who had organized so many cultural events, appeared on screen wearing military intelligence insignia. "Supreme Commander, your forces are completely surrounded. We know the location of every ship, the status of every weapon system, and the identity of every crew member. We have been monitoring your communications for months." Parker's smile was the same one he had worn while serving drinks at diplomatic parties. "Surrender now, and your crews will be treated well. Continue fighting, and we will demonstrate why humans stopped being courteous." General Paul Davis, who had appeared to be merely ceremonial during previous encounters, took control of the communication channel. "This is General Davis, Supreme Military Commander of Earth Defense Forces. You have 30 seconds to surrender, or we will begin destroying your ships." Zarkith looked around his bridge at officers who had never known defeat. The tactical display showed human forces completely surrounding his fleet. Escape was impossible. Victory was impossible. Even survival seemed unlikely if they continued fighting. "How?" he asked weakly. "How did you do this?" President Murphy reappeared on screen, but now his polite smile carried a razor's edge. "Supreme Commander, did you really think a species that survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars would be intimidated by threats? We have been fighting wars since before your empire existed. The only difference is that we chose to be polite first." Murphy leaned forward slightly. We gave you every opportunity to leave peacefully. We showed you respect and hospitality. We treated you as honored guests rather than invaders. You mistook our courtesy for weakness." The president's voice grew, colder with each word. "That was your first and last mistake. Surrender now, or learn why humans are the most dangerous species in this galaxy when we stop being nice." Zarketh stared at the human leader and finally understood. The humans had never been weak. They had never been afraid. They had been hunting. From the very first day, using politeness as a weapon more effective than any gun. "All ships," he said quietly. "Stand down. Prepare for surrender." The age of Zephyrian conquest had ended. The age of human dominance was about to begin. 3 weeks after the surrender of Supreme Commander Zarketh's fleet, the entire galaxy learned that humanity was no longer interested in being polite. The news traveled through space faster than any ship, carried by survivors and refugees from the growing war zone. President Jack Murphy stood before the cameras in what humans called the war room, gone were the ceremonial clothes and friendly smiles. He wore military fatigues, and his eyes held the cold determination of a species that had decided to survive at any cost. "My fellow humans," he began, his voice reaching every corner of Earth and its colonies. "For 6 months, we tried diplomacy. We offered friendship, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. The Zephyrian Empire responded with threats of slavery and destruction." Murphy paused, letting his words sink in. "As of this moment, Earth is under martial law. Every factory, every resource, every citizen is now part of our war effort. We will show the galaxy what happens when humans stop being nice." Within hours, the transformation began. Dr. Sophie Taylor stood in what had been an automobile factory in Detroit. Now massive assembly lines produced hybrid human Zephyrian weapons at a rate that astounded even her engineering teams. "We need 1,000 pulse rifles per day," she told her foreman, Sam Rodriguez, "and I want modifications on every design. Make them faster, stronger, and more reliable than anything the Zephyrians ever built." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "My teams are working around the clock. We have taken their technology and made it better. These weapons will punch through Zephyrian armor like it was paper." Engineer Sam Rodriguez had spent his entire career building cars and trucks. Now he built instruments of war with the same precision and efficiency. His factories produced not just weapons, but vehicles, ships, and equipment that combined the best of both human and alien technology. Dr. Carlos Martinez worked in a laboratory that had once studied diseases to cure them. Now he created diseases to kill Zephyrians. His team had analyzed every biological sample the aliens had provided during their medical cooperation. "Their immune systems are remarkably efficient," he explained to his assistant. "But they have no defense against modified Earth viruses. We can create biological weapons that will target only Zephyrian physiology." His laboratory produced compounds that could kill Zephyrians in minutes while leaving humans completely unharmed. The same friendly curiosity that had led to medical exchanges now created weapons of mass destruction. Dr. Jenny Adams commanded a different kind of laboratory, one filled with computers and communication equipment. She had studied Zephyrian data systems during their cultural exchanges, learning how their ships and networks operated. "Every Zephyrian ship uses the same basic communication protocols," she told her team of programmers. "We can create viruses that will shut down their entire fleet simultaneously." Her cyber warfare program spread through Zephyrian networks like wildfire, turning their own technology against them. Ships lost navigation, weapons failed to fire, and communication systems broadcast human propaganda instead of military orders. Admiral Kate Stevens stood on the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, watching her fleet prepare for the next phase of operations. The ship itself was a marvel of human Zephyrian hybrid technology, faster and more powerful than anything either species had built alone. "Admiral," reported her tactical officer, "Operation Payback is ready to begin. We have 47 battle groups positioned throughout Zephyrian space." Stevens nodded. "Begin the assault. Show them what human warfare looks like when we stop playing by their rules." The attack began simultaneously across 12 star systems. Human ships appeared without warning, striking at Zephyrian colonies and military bases with devastating effectiveness. They fought with a savagery that terrified alien observers. Colonel Jake Miller led the boarding operations, turning Zephyrian ships into floating tombs. His soldiers moved through alien vessels like death itself, using modified Zephyrian weapons and tactics the aliens had never seen used against them. "Sweep and clear," Miller commanded as his troops breached another enemy ship. "No prisoners unless they surrender immediately. Make it quick and make it final." The humans fought without honor, without mercy, and without any of the traditional rules that governed civilized warfare. They used psychological warfare, biological weapons, and cyber attacks in combinations that broke enemy morale before the shooting even started. Captain Ryan Brooks had become known throughout Zephyrian space as the Reaper of Proxima after his fleet destroyed an entire enemy battle group in less than an hour. His ship, the Liberty, moved through space like a hunting predator, striking fast and disappearing before enemy reinforcements could arrive. "Target their command ships first," Brooks ordered his gunners. "Cut off their communications, then destroy their engines. Let them drift helplessly while they think about what they have done to us." His tactics were brutally efficient. Zephyrian crews began surrendering the moment they identified his ship approaching. Knowing that resistance meant certain death. Captain Lisa Jordan commanded fighter squadrons that moved within human coordination. Her pilots had studied Zephyrian flight patterns for months, learning every weakness and limitation of alien fighters. "Stay in formation," she radioed to her wing. "Remember, they trained us how to fly their ships. Now we show them how to crash them." Her fighters swept through Zephyrian formations like wolves through sheep, destroying enemy craft with precision strikes that targeted specific components. The aliens found themselves outmatched by their own technology in human hands. Ambassador Helen Price, now Director of Psychological Operations, broadcast messages throughout Zephyrian space that shattered enemy morale. Her words reached every alien communication device, spreading fear and doubt through the enemy empire. "Surrender now," her voice echoed across the galaxy, "and humanity might show mercy. Continue fighting and learn why we once destroyed entire cities with single weapons. We are the species that created weapons capable of ending worlds. Do not test our patience further." Agent Tom Parker led intelligence operations that turned Zephyrian commanders against each other. He used the detailed psychological profiles his teams had developed during months of friendly conversation to manipulate enemy leaders. "Commander Vextal," he transmitted on a secured channel, "Supreme Commander Zarkith has blamed you for the failure at Earth. He plans to have you executed for incompetence. Perhaps it is time to consider your options." His psychological warfare campaigns created paranoia and distrust throughout Zephyrian command structures. Enemy fleets spent as much time watching each other as they did fighting humans. General Paul Davis coordinated the overall war effort from his command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. He had studied Zephyrian military doctrine so thoroughly that he could predict enemy moves before they made them. "They are following the same patterns they used on 47 other worlds," he told his staff. "But those patterns assume their enemies will fight according to civilized rules. We stopped being civilized the moment they threatened our children." Davis implemented strategies that would have horrified the old diplomatic corps. He authorized biological warfare, cyber attacks on civilian targets, and psychological operations designed to break enemy will to fight. The war machine that humanity had built was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It combined the industrial capacity of a unified planet with technology stolen from their enemies and tactics born from centuries of human conflict. Factory workers, who had once built cars, now built tanks. Scientists who had once cured diseases, now created weapons. Teachers who had once educated children, now trained soldiers. Every human had become part of the war effort. The Zephyrian Empire, which had conquered 47 worlds with ease, found itself facing an enemy that grew stronger. With each battle, human forces captured alien technology and improved it within weeks. They learned from every defeat and adapted faster than any species the Zephyrians had ever encountered. In the depths of space, Warcast Threndok floated in an escape pod after his ship was destroyed by Captain Jordan's fighters. He recorded a final message on his personal communicator. "To any Zephyrian who receives this transmission," he said weakly, "do not underestimate the humans. We thought we found a weak species ready for conquest. Instead, we awaken something terrible. They do not fight like civilized beings. They fight like the monsters we forced them to become." His pod drifted silently through space, carrying the last words of a warrior who had finally understood what humanity was capable of when pushed too far. The galaxy watched in terror as the species that had once welcomed alien visitors with parades and dinner parties transformed into the most efficient killing machine the universe had ever seen. And the humans were just getting started. 2 years had passed since the war began, and the Zephyrian Empire was dying. Admiral Lisa Jordan stood on the bridge of her flagship Retribution, watching the homeworld of her former enemies burning in the distance. The planet that had once commanded 12 star systems now lay defenseless before the human fleet. "Admiral," reported her communications officer, "we are receiving surrender transmissions from the planetary defense grid. They are requesting terms." Jordan's face showed no emotion. The young pilot who had once given friendly tours to alien visitors was gone, replaced by a warrior hardened by 2 years of total war. "Tell them there are no terms," she replied coldly. "Only unconditional surrender. They will submit to human authority completely, or we will reduce their world to ash." Supreme Commander Zarketh, once the terror of the galaxy, now stood in chains aboard a human prison ship. His mighty empire had crumbled under the relentless assault of an enemy that fought without mercy or honor. Around him, other Zephyrian leaders awaited their fate. "How did it come to this?" whispered former Warcast Threndok from his cell. "We conquered 47 worlds. We were unstoppable." "We were arrogant," Zarketh replied bitterly. "We mistook their politeness for weakness. We thought courtesy meant they were afraid of us. Instead, it was the only thing protecting us from what they really are." Dr. Alex Chun, still wearing his friendly smile, appeared on their cell's communication screen. But now that smile carried the coldness of a species that had learned to kill with scientific precision. "Former Supreme Commander," Chun said pleasantly, "your biological samples have been very helpful. We have developed targeted weapons that can eliminate your entire species within months if necessary. Consider this information when you meet with our negotiators." The threat was delivered with the same cheerful tone Chun had used when asking about Zephyrian anatomy during peaceful medical exchanges. The irony was not lost on Zarketh. President Jack Murphy addressed the galaxy from the former Zephyrian capital world. Behind him stood the flags of conquered alien empires, trophies of humanity's rise to galactic dominance. "To all spacefaring civilizations," Murphy began, his voice carrying across the stars, "the Zephyrian Empire is no more. Their worlds now serve as examples of what happens when humanity is forced to abandon diplomacy." Murphy's tone remained calm and professional, but his words carried the weight of ultimate authority. "Earth extends an invitation to all species who wish to engage in peaceful trade and cultural exchange. We recommend you remain courteous in your dealings with us. Those who choose aggression will share the fate of the Zephyrians. General Paul Davis supervised the occupation of former Zephyrian territories. His forces established human military bases on every conquered world, ensuring that the alien empire could never rise again. Deploy the orbital platforms around their industrial worlds, he ordered his commanders. I want human weapons pointed at every major population center. If they even think about rebellion, we end them. The efficiency was terrifying. Human forces moved through captured territory like a machine designed for conquest, establishing control with the same systematic approach they had once used for peaceful exploration. Captain Ryan Brooks, the Reaper of Proxima, now commanded an entire fleet of human ships patrolling the outer systems. His reputation preceded him wherever he went, causing alien colonies to surrender without firing a shot. Sir, reported his first officer, the Centaurian Federation has sent another diplomatic request. They want to discuss terms for avoiding conflict with humanity. Brooks laughed without humor. Tell them to send representatives to Earth. If they come bearing gifts and speaking politely, President Murphy will see them. If they come with demands or threats, they can speak to Admiral Jordan's guns instead. The psychological impact of human victory spread throughout the galaxy faster than their fleets. Species that had never heard of Earth now spoke of humanity in whispered voices, sharing stories of the polite aliens who had become unstoppable conquerors. Engineer Sam Rodriguez stood in a factory on the former Zephyrian homeworld, watching human-designed machines produce weapons for the new galactic order. The same industrial capacity that had once built peaceful cities now manufactured instruments of control and domination. Production is up 30% from last month, he reported to his supervisors. We can outfit 50 new human colonies with full defensive systems. No one will threaten our people again. Dr. Sophie Taylor worked in laboratories that had once belonged to Zephyrian scientists. She led teams that continued improving human technology, making sure humanity would always maintain its military advantage. We are developing faster ships, stronger weapons, and better armor, she told the military leadership. By the time we finish these upgrades, no force in the galaxy will be able to challenge human authority. Agent Tom Parker, now Director of Galactic Intelligence, maintained networks of informants throughout known space. His agents listened for any sign of potential threats to human dominance. 3 species in the Outer Rim are discussing an alliance against us, he reported during a security briefing. I recommend we send diplomatic missions to remind them of the benefits of cooperation with humanity. The diplomacy he suggested was backed by the implied threat of total destruction. Every species in the galaxy had heard what happened to those who opposed human interests. Dr. Carlos Martinez supervised biological research facilities that studied captured alien specimens. His work ensured that humanity would always have weapons capable of targeting any potential enemy. We now have detailed biological profiles of every known spacefaring species, he reported. If any of them decide to challenge us, we can eliminate their entire population within weeks. The same scientific curiosity that had led to peaceful medical exchanges now served the cause of human supremacy. Commander Rick Nelson led exploration fleets that scouted for new worlds to colonize. But these expeditions were very different from the peaceful missions Earth had once planned. Every new world we find strengthens human power, he told his crews. We are not just exploring anymore. We are claiming territory that will belong to humanity forever. Warcast Threndock, now a prisoner working in human labor camps, wrote final words in his journal before his execution. We came to Earth expecting to find sheep ready for slaughter. Instead, we found wolves pretending to be sheep. The humans were never weak. They were simply being polite. That courtesy was the only thing standing between the galaxy and humanity's capacity for absolute destruction. We thought their kindness meant they were afraid of us. We were wrong. Their kindness was a choice, not a weakness. When we forced them to abandon that choice, we doomed ourselves and every other species that might threaten them. The galaxy now belongs to humanity, and they rule it with the same efficiency they once used to welcome guests. They are still polite to those who serve them well. But for those who oppose them, there is only death. Ambassador Helen Price, now Secretary of Interstellar Affairs, met with delegations from across the galaxy. Her office walls displayed artifacts from conquered civilizations, reminders of what happened to those who chose war over diplomacy. "Welcome to Earth," she told each new group of alien visitors, her smile warm and welcoming. "We hope you will find humanity to be generous hosts and fair trading partners. We believe in peaceful cooperation between species." Her words carried the same courtesy humans had always shown to visitors. But now every alien delegate understood the true meaning behind that politeness. "Please, make yourselves comfortable," she continued. "We have prepared tours of our cities, cultural exchanges, and dinner celebrations in your honor. We are genuinely excited to learn about your civilization." The irony was perfect. Humanity had returned to its courteous, welcoming nature. They offered the same hospitality to new species that they had once shown to the Zephyrians. But now every species in the galaxy knew what lay beneath that friendly exterior. They understood that human courtesy was a gift, not a weakness. They knew that as long as they remained polite and peaceful, humanity would treat them with kindness and respect. They also knew what would happen if they made the same mistake the Zephyrians had made. The galaxy had learned to be very, very polite to humans.